Welcome to EU News TV. I am your host, Titus Ife. Today, we are delving into a polarizing topic, Trump versus Biden. Two strategies, one war, the Ukraine-Russia reality. Dear ladies and gentlemen, the war between Russia and Ukraine has not just shaken Eastern Europe. It has shaken the entire global order. It has tested alliances. It has exposed economic dependencies. And it has forced the world to answer one uncomfortable question. How should the West confront Vladimir Putin? Two American administrations approached that question very differently. One relied on traditional alliances, sanctions, and direct support for Ukraine. The other relied on transactional pressure, economic leverage, and geopolitical maneuvering. Today we examine the two competing strategies, the Biden approach versus the Trump approach. And the question we must ask is this: which strategy has actually weakened Russia more? Let's break it down. Segment 1, the Biden Doctrine, direct support. When Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the Biden administration took a clear and moral stance. Washington condemned the invasion immediately. The United States rallied NATO and European allies. And the policy response was straightforward. Support Ukraine. Punish Russia. The Biden administration sent tens of billions of dollars in financial aid, military weapons, and intelligence support to Kiev. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called for help, and Washington answered. At the same time, the United States and its allies imposed economic sanctions on Russia, designed to cripple its economy. Banks were targeted, energy sectors were restricted, assets were frozen. The goal was simple: make the war too costly for Russia to continue, and to a large extent, Biden succeeded in uniting the Western world. Europe stood together, NATO appeared stronger, Ukraine gained the resources to resist. But critics raised an uncomfortable issue. They asked, was America carrying too much of the burden for a European war?
And right now,
and that question would soon be seized upon by Donald Trump. Segment 2. Trump's criticism. The burden argument. Donald Trump looked at the war from a completely different perspective. Trump argued that while America was spending billions defending Europe, Europe itself was still funding Russia. Many European countries continued buying Russian oil and natural gas, indirectly financing the very war they claimed to oppose. To Trump, this was unacceptable. He asked a blunt question. Why should American taxpayers fund the defense of Europe while Europe funds Russia's war machine? Trump also revived an argument he had made for years. Many NATO members were not meeting their defense spending obligation of 2% of GDP. In Trump's view, the alliance had become unbalanced. America paid the bills, Europe enjoyed the security, and Trump refused to accept that arrangement. This criticism made him deeply unpopular in many European capitals. Many analysts accused Trump of trying to undermine NATO. Others went even further. Some claimed Trump was a Russian asset or a useful idiot for Vladimir Putin. But recent geopolitical developments have forced analysts to reconsider those assumptions. Because when we examine Trump's strategy closely, we see something very different. Segment 3. Trump the deal maker. Donald Trump has always described himself in one way above all others: a deal maker. He said it openly in his book, The Art of the Deal. And his approach to geopolitics often mirrors his approach to business negotiations. Trump uses two different strategies depending on the opponent. If he respects the opponent, he may embrace them, flatter them, and draw them into negotiations. If he believes he holds leverage, he may bully and pressure them into concessions. This approach has shaped his strategy toward Vladimir Putin. Putin himself operates within a long-standing Russian political tradition known as vranyo. Vranyo is a negotiation tactic where a party presents extreme or unrealistic demands that everyone knows are false, but forces opponents to negotiate from that distorted starting point. Trump recognized this tactic, so he responded with a tactic of his own: appear friendly, while tightening the economic noose. Segment 4. Trump's economic warfare strategy. Unlike Biden's strategy of direct financial support to Ukraine, Trump shifted the battlefield toward economic leverage and strategic pressure. First, Trump reframed the war economically. His view was simple: if Europe wants to defend Ukraine, Europe should pay for the weapons. Under Trump's pressure, NATO members significantly increased their military spending. Today, many NATO nations now meet or exceed the 2% GDP defense spending target that Trump once demanded. In hindsight, Trump's criticism of NATO underfunding appears increasingly justified. But Trump went even further. His administration imposed sanctions targeting the heart of Russia's economy. Most notably, Trump sanctioned Russia's two largest oil companies, Rosneft and Lukoil. These companies represent a massive portion of Russia's energy revenue. Rosneft alone accounts for roughly 6% of global oil production and nearly half of Russia's domestic oil output. By targeting these giants, Trump struck directly at Russia's financial lifeline. But Russia attempted to evade these sanctions. Moscow assembled a shadow fleet of oil tankers registered under false flags to secretly export oil around sanctions. Trump responded by authorizing interdiction and seizure operations against these vessels within Western maritime influence. This move encouraged European nations to follow suit. And suddenly, Russia's ability to bypass sanctions began shrinking. Segment 5. Cutting Russia off from allies. Trump also targeted the countries helping Russia survive sanctions. First came Venezuela, whose oil trade had helped Moscow navigate restrictions. Then came Iran, a major supplier of Shahed drones and weapons used by Russia in Ukraine. By striking Iran's drone production capabilities and limiting Venezuela's oil exports, Trump indirectly weakened Russia's military supply chain. This strategy hit Russia where it hurts: logistics, revenue, and allies. At the same time, Trump threatened secondary sanctions against financial institutions in countries like China and India that continued trading with Russia. The message was clear: do business with Russia and risk losing access to the American financial system. For global banks, that is a devastating threat. Segment 6. The strategic illusion. Perhaps the most fascinating part of Trump's strategy is the perception game. Trump often publicly speaks about negotiating peace with Russia. He sometimes appears conciliatory toward Putin. But behind that rhetoric, his policies quietly erode Russia's economic foundation. In other words, Trump offers the olive branch in public, while tightening the economic vise in private. This creates a strategic illusion. Putin believes negotiations remain possible. Meanwhile, Russia's economic and geopolitical position continues weakening. Segment 7. The reality. When we compare the two approaches, we see two different philosophies. Biden's strategy focuses on military support and alliance unity. Trump's strategy focuses on economic leverage, strategic pressure, and transactional diplomacy. Both approaches have strengths. Both have critics. But the reality is this: the geopolitical chessboard is more complex than partisan narratives suggest. Sometimes diplomacy is loud. Sometimes diplomacy is quiet. And sometimes the toughest pressure is applied behind the scenes. The war in Ukraine is far from over. The outcome will shape Europe's security, global energy markets, and the future balance of power. But one thing is clear. In geopolitics, appearances can deceive, allies can disagree, and strategies can look contradictory, even when they pursue the same ultimate goal. The real question is not which leader talks tougher. The real question is, which strategy ultimately weakens aggression and restores stability? History will decide that. But for now, the world continues watching this geopolitical chess match unfold. Before we wrap up today's discussion, let me leave you with this thought. In a world where information moves fast and narratives change by the hour, understanding the deeper forces shaping global events has never been more important. The Ukraine-Russia war is not just about two nations fighting on a battlefield. It is about power, economics, alliances, and the future direction of international politics. And that's exactly why conversations like this matter. Here at EU News, our goal is simple: to go beyond headlines, beyond political talking points, and give you clear, thoughtful analysis so you can understand what is really happening in our world. But this conversation doesn't end with me. It continues with you. So I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think the strategy of pressure and economic leverage is more effective than direct military support? Do you believe the West has handled the Ukraine-Russia conflict the right way? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters, and your perspective adds to this global conversation. And if you found this analysis valuable, help others discover it too, like this video, so more people can see it. Comment below and join the discussion. Share this episode with friends and colleagues who want deeper insight into global politics. And most importantly, subscribe to EU News TV so you never miss our latest analysis on international politics, economics, and global affairs. Together, we can build a community that stays informed, thinks critically, and understands the forces shaping our future. Thank you for watching. I'm Titus Ive, and this is EU News TV, where global events meet deeper understanding.